He's excited.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. So, first and foremost, my sincere apologies. I know I totally, I'm sitting there at the gym and I'm like just talking, and then I was like, oh no, I totally forgot.
It's fine.
I was driving down the road. I was like, I gotta tell her somehow. Anyway, sorry. Thank you for being cool about that. I try not to be late on that kind of thing, but good to see you.
Oh
So,
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Where do you want to start?
well, normally with any kind of like a debate topic or on abortion, I like to get some basic parameters as far as what we might agree on. So normally I always ask, because in my opinion, we won't have a productive conversation in the slightest if we don't first agree
Yeah.
human life, like my life, your life, grandma's, they all have value inherently as a human being, right? We would agree to that.
Yes, I agree with that.
So from there, I mean, that's not conceding any ground or anything weird like that. Where do you,
No.
I just want to know, where do you believe human life starts? Like, what would be the moment that you would say, here it's a human, but prior to that, not so much?
Okay, so I know you're very Christian. So do you want to go like biblically or scientifically or both?
Just your opinion. Just so I never argue from a perspective of my religious beliefs. I am a confessing Christian, but I don't. My
Okay.
abortion stance doesn't stem from that. But the question would remain: what? So, at what point do you view it as a human being, and at what point do you not?
Okay, so like scientifically, yes, I'm going to admit that a fetus is a part of the human species. It has its own genetic DNA separate from the mother's. However, I don't believe that that factor alone gives it inherent value over the mother's.
Okay. But again, I guess I'm just really trying to narrow down at what point is it a human? Like, is it the moment it leaves the mom's body? Is it 5 weeks,
I,
whatever it may be? What would
so personally, oh, sorry. Personally, I think that a fetus becomes a human whenever it reaches at least the viable stage of 22 weeks or 5 months. But it it really depends. Like if the fetus is obviously born early, then yes, it's a human at that point. Like once it comes out of the mother's womb, yes, obviously it's a human at that point. Um, and I believe the cutoff for most abortions, in like not the 1% of cases that are, you know what I mean. I believe the cutoff for abortion should be at 22 weeks unless it is a case of something very traumatic, very like mother's life is in danger. That's what I believe.
yeah.
So I hope that answers your question,
No, I
like
appreciate that.
viability almost.
I appreciate that. So you said 20, right? 22 weeks.
Yes,
And it may seem like a stupid question, so pardon me if it does. Why not 21?
because 22 weeks is when a fetus can survive outside of the mother's womb, obviously with intensive care because at that point it's born 3 months early or 4 months early, sorry. But at that point, it can survive out of the mother's womb. So,
So, just so I understand your brain and pick your brain a little bit better, the predominant factor is viability there. Like if the baby is considered to be viable, then that's around that point, 22, 23, even 21 weeks. You can get a reasonable chance that it's a viable human. That's kind of the determining factor of it being a human at that point is when it's viable.
yes, that's what I would agree to.
So would it be fair for me to say then that you believe that the metric by which you measure human life is viability?
Not necessarily, because also, I think that people have personhood, they have characteristics that make them inherently valuable. And a fetus doesn't really have that personhood. They don't have a family. I mean, yet. They don't really have characteristics that a mother would have. They can't feel emotions. They can't feel. There's a certain point where they can't feel pain. I just don't think like that should trump a woman's rights to not have to carry a baby to full term.
So is it more so because that's very very similar to the argument from sentience when you're talking about abortion being a sentient being, having family, friends, intimate interactions, understanding your environment. People often categorize that as the argument from sentience. If you're a sentient person, so earlier you said 22 weeks. So it's not so much viability, it's more sentience, in your opinion?
Um, yeah, I guess if that's how I'm explaining it, I'm just trying to explain it like best for us to both kind of,
No, I totally
understand.
I totally appreciate that. So the issue I have with the argument, I'll start with the first one of viability, right? So if viability is a factor that you consider when you're determining the value of a human life, well, viability, right? A 1 year old, if its parents just go off on vacation and leave it in the living room, that 1 year old is far from viable, right? A 1 year old is still completely dependent on the mother. As for what
Yes.
the second one was sentience, right? So sentience, when it comes to sentience, imagine the analogy or the situation painted on someone outside the womb. Say it's a someone is a full blown brain dead, right? Full blown brain dead. They're not sentient. They
Yeah.
have no knowledge of any of their surroundings, but they have a timer on their forehead that says in 9 months they'll be a walking, talking, normal, fully sentient human being. I would say that their lack of sentience does not mean that you get to go up and kill them. I think that their life still has value, regardless of their lack of sentience for the next 9 months.
See, my argument to that would be the fact that they've already been born, they've already experienced life. Like, even though a 1 year old can't survive without its mother, it's not using its mother's uterus to survive, in a sense. It's using its mother's, motherly instincts or father instincts to feed the baby and make sure that it stays alive. Because once it's alive, it's obviously a person, but when it's in the womb, it's kind of feeding off of, it needs the mother. It, like, um, I guess the best way to put it is the fetus doesn't need, like, the same mother that birthed it once it's out of the womb. Like, it can have anyone take care of it and it'll still be alive. That's kind of what I mean by that.
Yeah, but it's still completely dependent on it may not be dependent on the uterus of the mother, but it's certainly dependent on the brain, the hands, the feet. If she has a job, any of that kind of stuff, it's still entirely dependent on the mother in that fashion. I mean, it may not require the uterus, but it requires the hands and everything else of the mother. It's still completely dependent on the body of, maybe it's not a mom, maybe it's a dad or an uncle or something like that, but it's still dependent on somebody else, and its life still holds value, in my opinion.
Um, I kind of have a question for you. It's just like kind of a moral question almost. I think you'll know where I'm getting at, but I still want to bring it up because I think it's interesting. So, the government can't force you to donate an organ to save another life, but why should the government be able to force a woman to give up its uterus to, or not like give up, but use your uterus to sustain the life of another entity if we are considering this like a viable human life from conception? Why should the mother be put in the position where they have to sustain this life using her uterus? So,
Absolutely. And I'm very happy to answer that question. First and foremost, I do want to mention we definitely just segued away from the question at hand as far as viability and what is the metric by which you measure the value of human life. But with that said, noting that we did just deflect and we're going down a different path, as far as why the mother should be required to give her body to the baby that she created, I use the analogy, you may have heard me use it before. If I have I don't have one on me, but pretend that this broken wiffle ball is a dice, a six-sided dice,
mm-hmm.
and I know before I ever roll this dice that if it lands on a six, you will be attached to me through life support for 9 months. You'll be attached to me. Yet I still roll this dice. Now I have a six, and you're attached to me. It would be morally incorrect, in my opinion, to sever that connection because I put you, the now dependent human being, I put you in that state of dependency. You didn't ask to be there. I rolled those dice knowing good and well the potential consequences of my actions. I still rolled the dice, and now you're connected to me. I don't believe that I have the right to sever that connection because I'm not comfortable dealing with the consequences of my dice roll.
Yeah, the only problem I find with that is the fact that we both have value based off of who we have touched in our lives, and a fetus hasn't touched anyone in their life yet. So I don't see comparing like two born humans to a fetus that hasn't really had any say in life yet or anything like that, I
I
guess.
wholeheartedly disagree with the very beginning of that sentence. So you said we both have value because, right? That's where we get back to this metric of human value. You said we have value because we've had these experiences with other people. We could go back to that original argument on sentience, because I don't believe sentience, interacting and knowledge and all that kind of stuff, experiences, emotions, feeling. I don't think that that is what makes you a human being or not.
Okay, so also to like kind of get where you stand fully. So, do you personally believe that abortion in any circumstance is good? Because I just want to kind of like find common ground if we have any, and I just want to know like what you think on that.
Appreciate the question. No. Now, with that said, you can potentially, we're getting off into some weeds a little bit here, but you could potentially say, for example, an ectopic pregnancy, which is where the embryo or the baby, in my opinion, is attached to the mother's uterus or gets stuck. That is a case where it would be medically required to do what would be called an abortion. I don't really think that it's more similar to what I would consider a miscarriage for for the purpose of this debate. But that would be a circumstance where it may be required, but I would never call that good. I would never call an abortion good at any point in time.
So, would you be opposed to abortion exceptions for rape and incest and things like that? Like, would you be opposed to that if you could create the laws like right now? Would you completely ban every single form of abortion, or would you keep some acceptances?
Well, I think in the very beginning, right, when we very first started, unless my memory lies to me, we did say that we were talking about the 99%, not the 1%. I think that was actually what you said. So I think it's kind of concerning that we're switching away from the 99 to the 1%. That was kind of one of the things that we initially entered this conversation agreeing to, that we were going to talk about the
Yeah.
99, not the 1. So I'd be happy to answer that in a separate debate on a separate day, but because we kind of predicated this discussion on the fact that we would focus on the 99, I say we avoid the 1. Unless we agree that all 99 should be outlawed, then I don't feel the need to talk about the 1%.
Okay. That's fine then. That's totally fine. Okay, so I kind of want to get into like hold on one second. I kind of want to get into how we can reduce abortion numbers, and like I think we would find common ground here because according to NBC News and a study from the Gut Matcher the Gut Matcher Institute, in countries that restrict abortion access, the percentage of unintended pregnancies ending in abortions has increased from 36% in 1990 to 50% in 2019. So I guess where I'm going with this is the fact that just like how Chicago tried to ban guns, it clearly did not work. People still get guns, they bring them into the city, and they unfortunately shootings happen all the time there. So abortions are the same in the sense that if we ban medically supervised ones, it's still going to happen anyways. So, do you think banning abortions entirely is going to get rid of this problem, or are you like willing to find alternative routes to dropping abortion numbers?
Interesting. Well, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record or anything like that, but that was not the topic of this debate. That was not the topic of the debate. It wasn't about how we can lower the number of abortions. The net number of abortions isn't the topic of this debate. The topic of this debate is, is abortion a moral practice? I think abortion is not a moral practice. Now, those are interesting. I mean, to briefly answer your question so people don't get mad at me here, outlawing murder did not get rid of murder. Just like you said, outlawing firearm use didn't get rid of firearms being sold or anything like that. But what it does represent is that we agree as a society that that is morally wrong. That's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about abortion being morally wrong. And I think it should be outlawed because it is morally wrong. I believe it to be the murder of an innocent human being. So that's what we're here for on this debate. That's what I would like to stick to.
Okay, so like kind of going off of talking about how a fetus is a fetus and talking about like when life starts, I kind of just want to backtrack just a little bit to clarify that during weeks 1 through 8, a fetus isn't even medically recognized as a fetus. It's recognized as an embryo. So an embryo is like a step below a fetus. I'm sure you know that. But during these weeks 1 through 8, would you allow abortion then? Like if I just want to get your stance on that just because it's not even medically recognized as a fetus. Like, I just want to get your opinion on that and see what you think.
No, I would not. I believe that life starts at conception, and I'm not comfortable with any line outside of conception. I don't think any line outside of conception, no matter what level of development you say, I'm not comfortable with any line being drawn outside of conception. I think it's the only logical and scientifically consistent line to draw.
Okay. Um, so do you want to ask a question? I've kind of like,
No, I'm good.
asked a lot.
Let me think if there's anything. Is there anything that you're wanting to know? I mean, I may not have made it totally clear. I think I kind of did there, but just as a broad topic, I am pro-choice all the way when we're talking about the topic of abortion. Some people get off in the weeds about like, oh, what about the death penalty? And we're talking about abortion. I am pro-life, and I believe life starts at the moment of conception. I believe life starts at the moment of conception, and I'm not comfortable. Some people say heartbeat. Well, I'm not. I don't think that's a logically consistent line to draw. Some people say X level of development. Some people even say the moment it leaves the mother. I'm not comfortable with any of those. But what I will say, and I would be interested in your response, what I will say is if I'm driving down the road tonight and I'm going somewhere and it's maybe rainy or foggy or whatever it may be, and I think, I'm not certain, right? So maybe this would be your perspective. I'm not certain that it is a child crawling out in the road in front of me, and I look up there and I see it, and I think maybe that's a kid. What I or any other reasonable human being is going to do is I'm going to hit my brakes. I'm going to err, even if it's not a kid. So what? I hit my brakes and I didn't hit it. I'm going to err on the side of not killing a life. I'm going to err on the side of life. So where would do you understand that? I know it's kind of a, what do they call it?
Yeah.
It's a it's a certain, but I think it fits very well. I mean, for real, if you think it might be a child, would you not err on the side of life, even if you're not completely convinced?
See, in the circumstance that you brought up, yes, I would hit my brakes. However, when it comes to the topic of abortion, the fact is that women need to be able to have that choice because they might not be financially stable. They might not be ready for a kid, and that's just not something that I don't think should be burdened upon the mother whenever we have children out here in the world, like children who are born and they're alive and they're suffering because they're dying from hunger. 10,000 children die from hunger each day. It's really sad. We need to, like, I know that it's not on topic, but I kind of just wanted to bring it up because I think it goes with the fact that we need to be pro-life for them as well. Like I think the pro-life movement, if it focused more on children that were also living right now on this earth, I think that it would we need to focus on them too. Like if the pro-life movement kind of also included that, it would be less of a laughing stock on the left. Same with the right, like both ways. It's gonna go both ways. Pro-choice is a laughing stock on the right, and then you know, but I think that we definitely need to include that.
We totally agree. I think not just from a pro-life, pro-choice. I think all of us, both sides of the aisle, should do our very best for born children. Of course, I think that the reason you see this focus among people of my belief on the unborn is, well, they kind of got to be born, right? I kind of, first and foremost, I want to protect their right to life. After that, I'm more than happy. I'm more than happy to help provide for them. I'm more than happy. I think we should do that. That is right on. But first and foremost, I'm going to focus on them not being killed. But I totally agree. We totally agree on that as far as helping these kids. 100%, 100%. We should help kids after they're born.
Okay. So okay, I know you like. I just kind of want to get into so like banning abortions. I think it's topical because we're talking about like the 99%. Um, so I guess I don't understand why banning abortions is like the number one stance on the pro-life side, because we have seen from other countries and from states within the United States that states with the highest abortion laws have the most number of abortions. So I just want to know like why that's the first thing pro-lifers like you yourself gravitate towards whenever we know that it doesn't work in other circumstances, such as banning all guns, banning drugs. It doesn't work. So I just want to know kind of like why you guys gravitate towards banning abortions first.
I believe it to be murder. That's why. I mean, I believe it to be murder. So first and foremost, I believe murder should be outlawed in any form. As for the study you're citing about, certain states, there are definitely certain states with lower abortion rates. I don't disagree with you on that, but I think that you need to look into the methodology and how they're comparing those states. There's a lot of problems, many, many times. There's a lot of problems in the methodologies of how they're comparing these two states. I mean, you might have to factor in all sorts of things, religious affiliation, all sorts. I mean, population size, all kinds of stuff could factor into why one state may have a higher abortion rate or one state may have a lower abortion rate. I don't think it's entirely honest or fair to pin all of that on the abortion laws, because it wouldn't seem reasonable, right, to say that outlawing something somehow makes more of that happen, right? That doesn't exactly make sense.
I understand that. No, I understand that for sure. But like, also, I mean, that's just what the studies found. Like, I'm not a scientist or, a analytical person, but that's just what the studies found. So I just wanted to like bring that up and, kind of get the conversation going for that.
Certainly interesting, yeah. But regardless, I think because I believe it to be, just so you understand why I'm being logically consistent here, I believe it's murder. So regardless,
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be outlawed because I believe it to be murder. So
Gotcha. So kind of talking like hypothetically, if all abortions were just completely gone, not allowed, in that case, women who have miscarriages, every miscarriage would have to be investigated, which I think is a huge, huge step in that women's privacy. And I just don't understand how we could ban abortions without also putting innocent women in jail just for having miscarriages. Like, I think that would definitely become a thing. It's happened before in some states in the United States. It's happened in Texas, Alabama, and Georgia.
mhm.
3 states in the United States that don't even completely ban abortion. They've still got some, 6 weeks, whatever. But there's still women who swear that they had a miscarriage
Yeah,
and they're in jail.
yeah.
30-year sentence.
The kicker with that it's worth mentioning is the 3 states that you mentioned. Those laws. It's not that if you have a miscarriage you're a murderer. It's that if you intentionally kill your baby. That's an important line there. Is that they do that. And the justice system is not perfect. I agree. That would be a terrible. If a woman had a miscarriage, she should not be put in jail, or she should not be punished for it. That's a horrible situation. I mean, I can't imagine the emotional strain and the horror of having a miscarriage.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. So no, 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 no. I would never want a mother who has an accidental miscarriage to be sent to jail, to be fined. I would go the opposite direction, right? She should be, we should reach out a hand in whatever way we may to try and help them. So
Yeah. So, how do you think, like, I guess, how do you think we could go about preventing that if we did completely ban abortions? Like, how would we go about protecting women who have miscarriages while also not overstepping their boundaries and, overstepping their privacy to what's going on with their own reproductive health, I guess.
yeah, I mean the same way the innocent till proven guilty, right? You'd have to have something pretty significant to prove that a woman did such a horrible thing on purpose. But again, I mean that's we are I'm cool with it. We're going down a bit of a rabbit hole away from the main topic, but it would have to be laws on the books about that, and hopefully they're just and good laws that don't send people to jail for unjust reasons.
Yeah, I would hope the same, obviously. It would be terrible to have to go to jail for a miscarriage. Um, yeah. So, do you have anything else? Any other questions?
We covered quite a lot, honestly. I mean, we started off with when is it a human being? I believe if you said 22 weeks is around where you think it to be a human being. And then I mean, I don't think either of us were really going to be heavily swayed. We know why we believe in all that stuff, but hopefully
Yeah.
we'll have the opportunity to look and see what side they, does one line of logic stick out to them, or whatever it may be. So I'm content. I really do appreciate you extended grace that was not deserved to me because I was late. Like 20 minutes. My honest apologies. I really do feel bad about that, but you've been incredibly respectful. I would encourage anybody that's one of my followers or anything like that to be very kind to you, to be very respectful.
Okay.
Being prepared, you're knowledgeable about that. Clearly, you know how to debate and things like that. But I do appreciate. So I'm not just trying to be a weirdo or something. I really do appreciate you've been a pleasure to have on, and it's been a good conversation. If there's anything that you'd like to say, I mean, by all means, feel free. But I think we covered a lot, right?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, it's definitely not a big deal being late. Like, I mean, it is what it is. It happens. But I just want, can we just talk about one thing? That's all I ask. And it's in the 1%, but I just want to talk about it. I just want to get your opinion on it. It doesn't have to be long, it can just be one thing. I just want to like kind of understand what goes on, what you think about. And I just want to know like, so an 11 or 10-year-old, right? So in other countries, other third world countries like El Salvador and also in India, rape is obviously very high. Child rape, very high. Um, these, like, that's not okay, obviously. No one says that that's okay. But shouldn't these children, like, that's what pro life is also advocating about is like unborn children, unborn children. But these children, how are they supposed to protect themselves against that? And like, if abortion wasn't, like, if we banned abortion for rape or incest or anything like that, how is that pro life to the child who is having to go through a pregnancy that might kill them? And like, I know it's a small percent, but there's still women out there, there's still children out there who go through that. So I just kind of want to know like your thoughts on that, being like, you know, supreme pro life under all circumstances.
Well, so since we have covered it and you respectfully presented it, we are talking about the 1%, right? First and foremost, I think the most important thing that you can say on this is that is the most horrible circumstance ever. And even though I'm very pro-life, I think rapists should be hung. Now, you may say that's a logical inconsistency with me, but that's okay. I don't care. I think if you're a rapist, you should be hung. With that said, it's a gut-wrenching, horrible circumstance. That is absolutely terrible, but I still believe the child to be a human being. That's why I'm pro-life in every circumstance, because I still believe the child to be the human being. And if my dad goes out and does the most unthinkable, horrible thing in the world to the most innocent woman in the world, justice would never be to kill me. And I believe that it is a human being. So I don't believe it to be just, moral, or correct to end the life of that baby who is totally pure as the fresh fallen snow. He's never done anything wrong. I don't believe that that baby should be killed as a result of the father. But if we agree on the remaining 99% of all things, and it comes down to that 1%, I will have a firework party. I'll be ecstatic. If we get rid of the 99 but the 1 remains, I will be ecstatic at the lives saved, because there have been, I think, 62 million babies aborted in the United States alone since 1973, the decision of Roe v. Wade. So I would be ecstatic if we could cut out 99% of those.
It's interesting to hear your opinions for sure. I mean, I live in Missouri, so like, you know, I definitely get this all the time.
Oh, I won't ask you where
Really?
in Missouri. Yeah, yeah.
No, it's fine. I live by Joplin Tornado, you know,
Oh, no way.
fun stuff.
No way.
Yeah.
The Joplin guy, I do remember that. I used to go there all the time. But wow, small world out there. But
Yeah, for real.
it's constant iron sharpening iron for you. I'm sure with being in a very red pro life state, you probably have a lot of this
Yes.
one. But anyway,
Um,
it's
I
so
definitely have a lot of people, you know, in high school it was a lot worse because I would kind of, you know, sometimes like, I mean, I was in debate, so like I kind of went around and started stuff with people, but you know what? I don't even care because look who's graduated, me, and they're not. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, what are you gonna do about it? Well, I don't want to keep you forever. I mean, if there's anything else you'd like to discuss, I'm all for it. But if not, I don't know. I'll leave you with a thank you for real. I think for anybody who's watching, TikTok is a toxic platform. TikTok is it's like a dumpster fire of hot garbage. It's trash. And there's so much toxicity and people calling each other out for these stupid internet peeing contests where they're trying to insult people. They're just throwing ad hominems at everybody. This, to me, was a productive example of how two people should respectfully debate. I think that you've been very respectful, very kind. I think we had a productive conversation, as much as you'll find here on TikTok. These are very rare. These are very rare to find people that are willing to have a conversation with each other. So I do appreciate that, and maybe hopefully other
yeah,
political content creators can kind of follow the lead of you don't have to just insult people. You don't have you don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're definitely the most respectful pro-lifer to debate, even though it's kind of hard to find common ground whenever you're so pro-life and I'm so pro-choice. I don't think we will. However, I think it's better to debate a respectful person. I'd rather debate you than someone who's screaming at me.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, I think we've been on for quite a while anyway, but I appreciate you. I'm gonna end mine. Take care.
okay.
I appreciate again. I appreciate you giving me the grace with being a little bit late. So take care.
No, no, thank you. Uh-huh.
See ya. Now how? There we go. There we go. Have we ended it? Well, what do y'all think? I think she was very kind, and again, I've said to anybody who's in my following on here, be respectful to her. She was very respectful, and she knew relatively how to not bad. There's a lot of worse people out there on the pro choice side of things. Can you join? You have a question. No, I gotta eat. So if anybody doesn't know, I was at the gym working out. My apologies again. I apologize a bunch of times. I forgot. I completely forgot we were doing this debate. I'm like 100%. So I've been sitting here eating this pizza. I'm super hungry. I'm super thirsty. I'm eating this pizza, so I'm not gonna stay on here for very long. I'm gonna go fairly rapidly. But yeah, we haven't. Ooh, I dropped a piece of pizza. If y'all have any real quick questions, I'm all for it. We got people in here saying she won. We got people in here saying she lost. Here's something that might surprise y'all. Okay, when you have two people who know how to debate, she knew how to debate, and she was on the debate team for a while. When you have two people who know how to debate, seldom is it considered a winner and loser. It's two people presenting their ideas, presenting how they feel about a certain topic, and then you, the viewer, that's the point of a debate, is that you, the viewer, can view the two arguments from a third perspective, right? And you can say, hey, I think that argument is what I most closely agree with. I think that argument is the one I most closely agree with. If you go in with your ideas, there's going to be people in the comments, oh yeah, they won. Oh yeah, no one, I don't think any of my people are going to be like, oh, she won. And I don't think any of her people are going to be like, oh, he won. It's a presentation of two different sides of an idea. So that's what a real debate is. That's what a proper debate is it's really more so for the people watching. And if anybody wants to watch this, I'll upload the whole thing to my YouTube page. Well, first, I'll ask her, make sure that that's something she's cool with. But I will upload the entire thing, assuming that's something she's cool with. I'll upload the whole thing to my YouTube page. It should probably be up by the end of the night. We were probably on here for 35, 40 minutes, somewhere around there. So if you missed it, then by all means, feel free to go on there. With that said, I'm going to end mine. She might be on hers. You can go jump in hers for a while. I'm gonna eat this piece of pizza, and I'm gonna get me some water, and I'm gonna go take a shower because I came directly from the gym to here. Anyway, y'all take care. God bless. Keep in your prayers. Keep your country in your prayers. I will see you next time.